Welcome back, and oh boy, I have been waiting to talk about this person. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk Stephen King. Stephen King was born in 1947, and he's an author, most notable for his works of horror. Prime examples of Stephen King's work include Misery, Carrie, The Shining, Cycle of the Werewolf, Cujo, the list goes on. He has done other works as well, like The Shawshank Redemption, The Stand, The Eyes of the Dragon, The Green Mile, The Body, and many, many more. Now, a lot of films have also been adapted and written by Stephen King, all of which range from masterpieces to masterpieces. And today, I'm going to be talking about one of those films that I think is somewhere in between. It's called The Night Flier. Directed by Mark Pavia in 1997, The Night Flier is a vampire flick based off the short story of the same name, written by Stephen King. The story centers around a cynical tabloid writer who pursues a string of murders that involve a mysterious pilot who seems to murder his victims in a similar manner to a vampire. It's a good piece and an interesting take on how bloodthirsty tabloid reporters can be. However, the film failed to impress critics, and I myself can't say it's King's best work. That being said, there's still a lot to like about this film and the story it's based off of. So, let's not waste any more time and try to sink our teeth into this film. This is The Night Flier. Let's review. So our film wastes no time in the beginning as an air traffic control worker goes to investigate a plane that landed in the airport late at night. I think it's safe to do so though. After all, the plane ain't rockin', so you can come a-knockin'.
Good Lord. What happened in here?
Whatever it is, I don't think it's your business. We get our first look at our vampire, and it appears he stopped at a Halloween store before he showed up. I mean, he is trying to blend in, right? I know his plane's a little unusual, but I think his outfit stands out a bit more. We then meet our main character, Richard Dees, played by Miguel Ferrer, and he literally establishes what kind of character he is right when he opens his mouth.
Where's my picture? Where's my goddamn dead baby? I told you before, Libby, do not with my stuff.
Yeah, our protagonist, everybody. You can tell you're gonna love him already. So, Richard is a cynical man who works for a tabloid paper called Inside View, which distributes news articles that I'm not so certain can legally be printed. And even if they can legally be printed, there isn't really a lot of morals going on here. Richard is one of those protagonists that is also kind of a villain for the story. And this kind of character usually goes one of two ways. Either the kind of character you love to hate, meaning that they're horrible but have some charm or even redeemable qualities, or they're characters you can't wait to see get what's coming to them. Richard is unquestionably the latter, and interestingly, we also get the former in the form of his boss, Merton Morrison, played by Dan Monahan. Merton is currently hiring a new reporter named Catherine Blair, played by Julianne Twizzle.
Sorry, Mr. Morrison, I forgot my purse. Thank you.
Our protagonist, everybody. He's cynical and a creep.
That's disgusting.
Morrison then gives Dees the rundown of a new case. He tells him about someone named Dwight Renfield who's been flying around and killing people. Richard does not seem too thrilled about this piece.
A lot of people are going to want to read about this guy.
There's nothing here.
The hell is wrong with this guy? Even if he doesn't turn out to be a vampire and he's quickly caught by police, this is still a perfect piece for your paper. That being said, Richard does make a point. He mentions that the plane's make and tail number are known so the police could arrest him, which begs the question, how haven't they already? We know as the audience that he's a vampire, but the police don't know that, so they could stake him out and arrest him before he hurts others. Or, since he is a vampire, this could add more to the story, as police officers will most likely get killed. Richard refuses the case and goes out for some drinks. Catherine comes to join him, hoping to get some advice.
Never believe what you publish. And never publish what you believe.
Oh, the motto of Fox News. No wonder Richard's done so well for himself. Richard continues to be a stand-up guy, telling Catherine about their previous reporter, who committed suicide through both drowning and suffocation, something Richard added to the tabloid. Realizing what the audience realized at the beginning, Catherine leaves, but not before Richard gives her some final words.
Listen to me now. I don't have friends. I've got my camera, my plane, and my stories. That's all I want. And it's all I need. So if you want a friend, buy a dog.
And then shoot the dog, and then get a cat. Then get a goldfish so that the cat can eat the goldfish, and then it'll choke to death on the goldfish. And
Enough!
we then cut to our vampire's next victims, one of whom seems really turned on by his plane. She must have been a big fan of Top Gun. Sorry, honey, that's what you get for leaving the toilet seat up. After this murder, Richard finally takes an interest and takes the case from Catherine, much to the new reporter's dismay. Or excitement. See, seriously, ripping up the ticket I get, but why did she throw it like confetti? Richard heads out on his plane and makes it to the first place the night flyer visited. There, he meets Ezra, played by John Benese. And I swear, the way he talks makes me think that at some point he's gonna say, you know, sometimes dead is better. Ezra tells Dees about the night our suspect came. And I gotta say, this guy has the best description of a vampire costume I have ever heard.
Red as a fire engine inside. Black as a woodchuck's asshole outside. And when it spread out behind him, it looked like a goddamn bat's wing, it did.
A woodchuck's asshole. I love it. That does beg the question, though. How much ass could a woodchuck eat if a woodchuck could eat ass? It doesn't quite have the same ring to it. Ezra goes on to say that Claire, the night flyer's first victim, was acting strange the next day. He also mentioned that there was a pile of dirt filled with worms and maggots underneath the tail of the night flyer's plane as well. I guess the guy also does yard work. That night, Richard goes to the local cemetery to get pictures of Claire's grave. Just be careful in there, Dees. I think Elvira and Vincent may be fighting in there. Our protagonist, everybody. He's cynical, and he defiles graves.
He's an asshole.
That night, Dees has a dream about the night flyer paying a visit. Only it may have been more than just a dream. Hey, I don't blame the guy for wanting to be left alone. Paparazzi's a bitch. Dees then heads to the next area, where he bribes a coroner to see the body of the second victim. And, if you're squeamish, I'd recommend looking away. So admittedly, I like this, as it turns away from the usual things we know about vampires. It makes you wonder, what did the vampire do to inflict those wounds? Are they teeth marks, or something else? We then get to see how Richard comes up with the name for our killer.
So I said, saw you had a night flyer last night. This him? So I said, saw you had a night flyer. Night flyer. Flyer. Flyer.
Richard then calls Morrison to update him on the progress. Morrison asks for everything he has so far, but like a dick, Richard refuses until he has everything. I mean, on one hand, it's good to have everything complete. On the other hand, you could still give your boss some material to work with so they can start writing the article. Tired of Dee's attitude, Morrison decides to play dirty his own way by reassigning Catherine to the case without telling Richard. And, I think this is a good point to address this. I will say, this movie really more or less does follow the original story to a T, except for the character of Catherine. Because Catherine does not exist in the book. And honestly, I don't feel like she needs to exist in this one either, or at least not as long as she does. The point of her is that she's supposed to be the opposite of Dees, someone who is young, experienced, and a bit more innocent. This is supposed to counterbalance Dees and show us how he is spiraling out of control, much like the reporter they mentioned earlier. But I don't think you need Catherine to show that. He kinda does alright himself in this movie already. Richard arrives at his next stop, which is where the latest victims were. They're the old couple we saw earlier getting killed with a night flyer. He interviews a beauty salon employee who was good friends with the wife.
like a schoolgirl with a crush. 62 years old or not, her color was so high, I thought it was makeup.
You might want to either get your eyes or your lights adjusted. She's looking 1 foot in the grave to me. The salon artist then explains that Ellen was acting strangely, as not only did she come in far earlier than she normally would, she also asked for a much younger looking haircut. I don't find that unusual. Some old ladies like to look a little younger from time to time.
She wanted to look sensuous.
Oh, so she went with the Golden Girls look, I see.
Thank you for being a friend.
We then get an honestly good scene where Richard visits the crime scene. During this, we get a narration as he talks to the police about what happened. It then transitions between what the cops saw when they initially came in to what Richard sees when he goes to take pictures. It's really well done and well edited, and it adds a lot of creepy atmosphere to the movie. Richard better be careful though. I think the Night Flyer hired a Cujo impersonator to make sure he stopped his investigation. Our protagonist, everybody, he's cynical and a terrible driver.
You're despicable.
While having a couple drinks, Richard gets another message from the killer, once again asking to stay away. Richard tried to go after him, but he escapes and flies overhead. How he got back to his plane so quickly, I don't know. I mean, we don't know if he can turn to a bat, we also don't know if he has the power to teleport, which then begs the question, if he could do either one of those things, why would he need the... I'm overthinking this. Richard then runs into Catherine, and they both decide to temporarily call a truce so that they can figure out where Dwight will be next. They call several airports posing as the FFA, but get no luck until the very last one in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Sir, have you seen this plane? Sir?
No.
He was lying.
No shit, Sherlock.
Now they know where to go. Dees and Catherine get packing.
Dees?
He's gonna betray her. He's gonna betray her. He's gonna betray her. He's gonna betray her. He's gonna... Oh, look at that. What a shock. As Dees flies towards Wilmington, he asks about the plane. However, at the other end, he begins to hear screams of pain. Then, he gets an answer.
Turn around while you still can, Richard. I don't want you here.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
Richard lands and finds the plane. He goes inside to find the cockpit covered in blood and the back filled with dirt, worms, and maggots. Oh, right. Okay. Because in some vampire tales, vampires can't survive unless they rest on dirt from their native land. Which then begs the question, why does he dump some of that dirt before he leaves at the airport? Anyway, Richard then goes inside and sees an absolute massacre. Disgusted, he goes into the bathroom to throw up. And, not gonna lie, we get the best part of this entire story. Yes, you are sort of seeing this. The vampire is taking a piss. I never thought I would ever utter that sentence in my entire life. Also, the vampire might want to get that checked out. Having blood in your pee may not be a good thing. The Night Flyer then demands that Richard open his camera. Too scared to argue, Richard complies, and the Night Flyer destroys the footage and tells Richard that to leave him be. Before he leaves, however, Richard demands to see his face.
Thought I would be.
Alright, let's talk about this. As a design, it's definitely very unique. I mean, there aren't a lot of vampires out there with long, retractable fangs and giant mouths. Plus, I always appreciate when they make vampires look more like bats than people. That being said, the effects are a little shaky at points. When it's just the mask, it's fine, but the opening of its mouth was pretty weak, and I couldn't tell if it was CGI or just a shitty puppet. Either way, they could have done better. The Night Flyer then brings Richard into a dream world, which is apparently Night of the Living Dead. Richard tries not to get infected, but then snaps out of it when the police arrive, only to snap back into it when Catherine shows up.
You too. You got you too.
Hooray! No! Oh no! Oh, poor Richard. We then get a shocking twist. The vampire can change into a human! Okay. I mean, he still kind of stands out like a sore thumb, so it's a little pointless. Plus, he can hypnotize his victims, so why does he need to appear human? Whatever the case, Catherine sees the Night Flyer before he leaves, but instead of pursuing him, she instead goes by Richard's advice earlier and frames him, turning Richard into the Night Flyer and making her a new star editor, implying that she will go down the same path he does. And that was the Night Flyer. And while it definitely isn't one of Stephen King's best, it's hardly his worst either. Stephen King adaptations range from amazing films to absolutely entertaining shit shows. This one really doesn't fall under either category. While it does have a good atmosphere and a good story, the acting isn't always perfect, and it's hard to get behind our protagonist when he feels more like the antagonist. While the vampire is unique, the movie adds some plot holes with it that weren't in the original story, which kind of takes away from some of the creepiness. That and the effects could have been better. I'd still recommend watching this movie, just don't expect it to be the best King has to offer. Worry not, we'll get to more of those films later on down the line. Thank you for joining me on this review. Until the next film, farewell.